Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a Fantasy Cup video for you guys, and it is going to involve Togedemaru. Before anyone comments, I know Togedemaru is a risky pick in a meta where there are a lot of ground types. But please, before commenting, maybe watch my video and take a look at how I handle the ground types. They're actually not the worst against this team because Azu and Dragapult can do pretty well against those Mudslap users. Dragapult is going to take a lot of damage, but it also does a lot of damage with that Astonish. But guys, hear me out, okay? Listen, trust me. Togedemaru is so fun to use, and that Gyro Ball takes a lot of people by surprise. Look at what it's going to do to this Alolan Dugtrio that is resisting Steel-type moves. We're able to take it out with the Gyro Ball, and it had like 60% health left on it, I would say. One-shot it, take that win, and a lot of people running ground types did not see the Gyro Ball coming. We were able to land it on some Flygons, and we got a lot of wins. I ended up, out of 5 sets that I played, I ended up going positive in all 5 sets, given some of them were 3-2s. But still, 5 positive sets in a row in a meta where ground types and Mudslappers are super common with Togedemaru is kind of crazy. So this Pokemon is good. You can try it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's completely fine. You can probably replace it with Alolan Sandslash and you'll do a lot better. But I had fun with Togedemaru. Also, this is a team that is similar to a team I have used before in the Fantasy Cup, but before the Mudslap users were almost non-existent. So when I ran it, I ran Togedemaru, Azumarill, and Giratina. That was the last time Fantasy Cup was around, but now we have Dragapult, and I decided to try the team again, but with Dragapult in place of Giratina. Now, if you are brave enough to run this team, then I'm going to let you guys know how I handle some of the leads that I see. In most cases, Dragapult is just going to be your safe swap. So if you lose lead to a ground type or a Turtonator, you just swap immediately into Dragapult. Now, if you see Alolan Sandslash on the lead, I've started playing this a little bit differently, but I will go for 2 wild charges. I will shield once, and if my opponent double shields their Alolan Sandslash, then I will let Togedemaru go, save my final shield for Dragapult because my opponent has no shields left. They went ahead and double shielded Alolan Sandslash, so Dragapult with a shield is most likely going to destroy. Now, the worst thing for Dragapult safe swap is going to be a Wigglytuff, but when I played in all 5 of my sets, I only saw maybe like 2 Wigglytuffs. Not a lot of people are running it in my experience. I don't know if you guys are seeing more, but the team worked because I didn't see a lot of those. I did see a lot of Mudslap users though, and you guys are going to see how I handle them. That's all I have in terms of explanations. I doubt anyone's going to run this team anyways, but I hope you guys enjoy the battles because there are some really fun battles here for you guys. So let's get started in this match that's going on right now. My opponent led Alolan Sandslash, and they actually didn't shield the Wild Charge from our Togedemaru. So what ended up happening was I shielded Togedemaru once, and then I tried to farm them down with the Thunder Shocks, but when I realized I wasn't going to be able to, I caught the move on Azu. We end up drawing out their own Azu, which is completely fine. We play out the Azu versus Azu matchup, and when we get them very low, I come in with Dragapult, thinking I can farm them down, but they make it to another move and they take our final shield. Okay, my opponent's final Pokemon is a Stunfisk. It's not looking good for me, but I bring in Azu and they actually let me go for an Ice Beam. We get them into the red, and I'm just hoping that this Gyro Ball is going to be enough to take the Stunfisk out. Surprisingly, it does KO, and Togedemaru is going to be able to clean up and take that win for us, which was very surprising for me. That Gyro Ball is devastating. And speaking of devastating, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against an Alolan Sandslash on the lead. They only built up to an Ice Punch, so I'm going to no-shield it, and then my opponent swaps out into a Dragapult. I'm going to go for this Gyro Ball, and it lands. We're able to get them into the red and then come in with our own Dragapult and farm them down. Now, this means that my Dragapult is going to be up against their Alolan Sandslash, and they are going to be able to take us out but I am going to bring in Azu now for this Alolan Sandslash. Now here's the thing, I really needed to take that Alolan Sandslash out. It is still alive, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a spoiler. It's actually going to destroy us. So my opponent's final Pokemon is an Azu of their own. I damaged them with the Play Rough, and then I swap into my Togedemaru to take their final shield, which I don't know if this was the play, but we end up getting a move from them anyway, so my opponent throws their energy, and I was really thinking I might have the advantage here, but you guys are gonna see how this is gonna play out. Maybe I should have shielded the Play Rough here, actually. I'm gonna go for another Play Rough, and it takes the Azu out, and my opponent is gonna be able to reach 2 Ice Punches here. So the second Ice Punch is gonna be enough to take us out. I was really hoping that Azu would survive, but it doesn't, and my opponent is going to win that. Okay, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Wigglytuff on the lead. I need to maintain switch here. My opponent swaps into an Alolan Dugtrio, which I saw coming. Wigglytuff double Mudslap is a very common team, and we end up taking 1 Mudslap damage on our Togedemaru, which is not great for us, but here at least I'm able to survive and take this Dugtrio out. We did shield the first move, and I let the second move go. But thank goodness we maintained switch. That Wigglytuff cannot be up against our Dragapult. Now I swapped immediately into Dragapult when my opponent brought in that Excadrill, and we are going to be able to get them really, really low. I now have to Thunder Shock this Excadrill down and hope that I can take it out before taking a second Mudslap. We managed to do it. We come out with a Gyro Ball for this Wigglytuff. We're going to be able to farm them down, and we take that win. That was a double Mudslap backline, and we won that. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against an Alolan Sandslash, and I'm going to go ahead and shield the first move from my opponent, and then I will let the second move go. Thankfully, we're able to take a shield from them, and I'm really hoping that my opponent is going to go ahead and give me their second shield. So going to go for that Wild Charge now, and both of my opponent's shields are out of the way. You guys know what that means. Dragapult is absolutely going to go on a rampage. I'm going to come in with Azu because I don't think Dragapult is going to be able to farm this down without taking an Ice Punch. So I come in with Azu, and then they catch the Play Rough on their own Azu. Okay, so the Alolan Sandslash is still alive. That could be bad for me, but I am going to stay in this, and I'm going to try to damage this Azu a little bit more, and I'm going to come in now with the Dragapult and farm it down completely. I will have to shield once, and I will come out of this with energy, so if my opponent brings that Alolan Sandslash back in, which they do, I can go for a Breaking Swipe because from this range, it is enough. We take their Alolan Sandslash out, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Giratina. No shields left. This means the Shadow Ball is going to land, take that Giratina out, and then we're able to astonish their Azu down and take that win. And that is going to be a 3-2 in that set, so a positive set, but we got a couple losses here and there, which is completely fine. Anyways, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Flygon on the lead, and I will swap Dragapult into this lead. Now, if my opponent stays in, I will go ahead and double shield Dragapult. I should be able to astonish them down, but I will come out of that with 0 shields. My opponent goes for a Dragon Claw, takes a shield from us, and then they swap into Azu. Okay, I am going to go ahead and shield their first move. This next Shadow Ball might take my opponent's second shield. It does, and then I'm able to catch the Ice Beam on my own Azu. So my Dragapult is still alive in the back if I need it, and my opponent is not going to be able to bring Flygon into Azu. Otherwise, they are going to have to take an Ice Beam from us, and they have no shields left. So this is looking pretty good for me. Also, because they have no shields left, if I absolutely have to, I can bring Togedemaru into the Flygon and go for that Gyro Ball. Okay, my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Tapu Fini. I'm going to aggressively swap into the Togedemaru. That way, I can reach the Gyro Ball before my opponent can reach a Scorching Sands. We take that Flygon out. My opponent's going to bring that Tapu Fini back in now, and I should be able to take this out with a Shadow Ball, but my opponent is going to go ahead and top left. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to see a terrible lead of Dragapult, and I actually don't have anything to swap into this, so I just bring in my own Dragapult, and they end up bringing in an Alolan Sandslash. Okay, how am I going to play this out? I'm going to go for a Wild Charge here, which should be enough to take them out, and I think my opponent is going to bring, a Mudslap user in. This is really not good for me. I should just go ahead and top left. There is no way I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna let the Drill Run go. Yeah. Yep. Top left. Okay. You win some, you lose some. That was a hard counter game, and I just couldn't do anything there. In this next match, we get a really nice lead of Azu, and my opponent swaps immediately into a Shadow Flygon. Now I go ahead and shield the first Scorching Sands, but most likely I'm not going to be able to win switch here, so my opponent is going to go ahead and double shield the Ice Beams. I don't want to give up my final shield because I want to save it for Dragapult. I'm going to go for another Ice Beam here, and the next Scorching Sands should be enough to take us out. I'm going to let it go. I'm okay with this. And Dragapult should be able to handle the Azu. So I'm going to come in with Dragapult, farm their Flygon down, and I'm actually calling that my opponent's final Pokemon is a Turtonator. So I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball now, and I'm going to go ahead and shield my Dragapult here, and I think I'm going to attempt to astonish their Azu down and come out of this with so much energy, and I was correct. My opponent has a Turtonator left. I'm going to be able to go for 2 Breaking Swipes immediately, take the Turtonator out, and we didn't even need our Togedemaru in that game. Dragapult absolutely destroyed. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to see an Alolan Sandslash on the lead. Let's see what my opponent decides to do here. I'm going to go for that Wild Charge, and they let it go. I'm going to go ahead and shield because I know that I can farm them down. And yeah, they let us farm them down. Let's see what they bring in next. They bring in a Dragapult. I panic swap into Azu, but thank goodness my opponent also swaps immediately into their final Pokemon, which is going to be an Azu of their own. So it looks like we are running a similar backline, but a different lead. I am going to start damaging this Azu as much as I can, and if I lose this, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to give up my final shield because they have that Dragapult left, but they bring that Dragapult back in now, and now I am going to shield the Breaking Swipe. I should be able to astonish them down. I don't think I win this though, because yeah, my opponent has 2 shields left, and that's not good for me. I also go for a Gyro Ball here, which doesn't really make sense. I should have just gone for the Wild Charge because I think... No, I don't think I could have reached a second one. Actually, I think I could have reached a second one. But my opponent has a shield left. I don't, so they are going to be able to go for a move against her Azu and take us out here. And my Togedemaru is not going to be able to do anything because it's basically dead. And GG's to my opponent. We are going to lose that match. But hey, it's still a positive set, so I can't be mad at that, given it is the beginning of the season, and maybe I should pay attention to my win rate a little bit more because it's going to reflect in my starting ELO. But, I mean, I don't care. Honestly, I don't really care about that starting ELO. So we did end up throwing a few games before getting our starting ELO. I got my starting ELO today. It wasn't great, but it's okay. I had fun. That is my goal. I want to have fun. And I want to reach Legend, but I want to have fun reaching Legend. But we can worry about that later because in this match we were up against an Empoleon on the lead, and my opponent swaps out into a Ferrothorn. Thank goodness they let the Shadow Ball go on the Ferrothorn and were able to take them out because my final Pokemon is Azu, and Azu definitely would not have wanted to see that Ferrothorn. I am going to go ahead and bring in my Togedemaru here and go for a Wild Charge, take the Empoleon out, and we even reached a Wild Charge on their Azu, and my opponent just goes ahead and top left. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to get another Flygon on the lead. I'm going to swap immediately into my Dragapult, as I always do, and I have to shield the first Dragon Claw. Now my opponent is going to bring in a Ferrothorn. Okay, this is really good. This means that this is probably not going to see our Azu. They even let the Shadow Ball go, which is kind of crazy. And here I get super lucky because I was not calling that my opponent was running Flash Cannon, but we end up shielding the Flash Cannon, and then my opponent brings that Flygon back in. They are going to have to use shields now for the breaking swipes, which I reached 2 of them, so we take both of our opponent's final shields, and they are going to have to throw some energy here. Otherwise, I think I would have been able to astonish them down. I am going to bring my Azu in now here to farm their Flygon down, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Lucario. Okay, no shields left. I can go for these play roughs. They will land. It hurts so much, and I should be able to bubble this Lucario down before they can reach another Thunder Punch and take the Flygon out and take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against an Azumarill on the lead. Okay, this opponent in particular, I ran into twice in the same evening, and I couldn't remember their team. This is actually the second time I ran into them. I went ahead and cut the first one because it basically plays out the same. I get destroyed. My opponent brings in Flygon, and I bring in Dragapult instead of bringing in my Azu. And we are going to go for a Shadow Ball here up against their Azu, weaken them. This is okay so far, but then I make this play, which is really dumb. I bring in my Azu, and my opponent's final Pokemon is an Excadrill. I should have saved this Pokemon for the Excadrill. This was so stupid. But now my Azu is going to take a lot of damage, and I'm not going to be able to handle this Excadrill anymore. We have no shields left as well, so they are going to be able to take us out. And what's Togedemaru going to do against us? Not much. We even come in with the Dragapult to try to staunch it down. We're not able to. And then my opponent is just going to take my Togedemaru out and absolutely destroy me. All I had to do was save that Azu, and maybe I would have had a chance to win that. But anyways, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Ferrothorn on the lead. And my opponent swaps out immediately into an Alolan Duck trio. This might be a double ground backline, we'll see, but they let the Ice Beam go, and I'm thinking I might have to save my Azu here, especially if my opponent has another ground type in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and shield here, and then I am going to swap into my Togedemaru. I'm going to go for a Wild Charge, and it does a pretty decent amount of damage to this Excadrill, and I am going to be able to go for an Ice Beam here. Okay, they are in Astonish range now. I should be able to come in and take them out with my Dragapult. Go ahead and shield once. Unfortunately, they do debuff us, which is really annoying. But let's see if I can still win this. My opponent is running Mirror Shot. I am going to go ahead and bait with the Breaking Swipe, hoping to take my opponent's final shield. We do, and now all I have to do is hope that the next Shadow Ball is going to be enough to take this Ferrothorn out, but we are debuffed. Is it going to be enough? It is! We're actually able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. We have reached the final battle. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. This is going to be another win, and we end up with a 4-1 in this set. So I had a lot of fun playing these battles. If you guys want to try this team, I actually do recommend it. Togedemaru is such a strong pick, and a lot of people are not going to see it coming. And Dragapult as well is surprisingly good in this meta. So if you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. If you've watched this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye!